business meeting of the Cincinnati Board of Education. We welcome everyone and request everyone in the audience and at the table to please silence your cell phones and electronic devices. Please stand for the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mrs. Wagner, please call the roll.
Mrs. Bates? Present.
Present.
Mrs. Copeland-Dansby?
Present.
Mr. Messer?
Glad to be here.
Mr. Morosky?
Present.
Mr. Timmons?
Present.
President Jones?
Here. I need a motion to approve the minutes from the special public meeting on January 8th, 2018, the business meeting, board retreat, January 20th of 18, special meeting, January 22nd of 18, a business meeting, January 22nd, 18.
So moved.
Second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved as presented. This morning we have a pretty hefty agenda, but we're going to start our agenda with an introduction of two presentations. Superintendent Mitchell, we're going to ask you to introduce the speakers.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
We are delighted that Roberts Academy is here. They have received the Momentum Award. So we're delighted to recognize this school. They have received this award by the State Board of Education. Roberts was the only school within Cincinnati Publics to earn this distinction. Now in its third year, this award is provided by the Ohio Department of Education. It's a way to recognize schools for exceeding expectation and student growth for the year. Schools must earn straight A's on value-added measures on the report card. And I'd like to, at this time, invite Principal Albertina Beauchamp to the microphone, as well as anyone who he may have with him to talk about the work that they have done at Roberts that earned them this distinction and recognition.
Make some noise for these babies, y'all. Come on, y'all. Give it up for these babies.
Who is that? I don't know.
Thank you, Superintendent Mitchell, and thank you, Board, for allowing us. You can stand right here. It's a great honor, and it's very humbling to be here. I just want to introduce who we have with us. Miss Ronna Edwards, she is a second grade teacher and team leader at Roberts Academy. Mr. Dan Bird, he is a 6th, 7th, 8th grade SLIFE teacher. He also is our ESL coordinator and team leader. Lakeisha Chambers, one of our lovely 8th grade students. Darwin Diaz Rodriguez, another 8th grade student. Cesar Ramirez, a 3rd grade student. And Miss Perez is a parent with us at Roberts Academy. I am honored to be in the role as interim principal at Roberts Academy. The work that we do there as a community learning center is tremendous, and many times it can seem a little bit overwhelming, but we are delighted to be in that position, to have so many partners and resources, parents, staff members who are serving our students day in and day out, ensuring rigorous learning occurs. I just wanted to start briefly today and with a NPR story that was done on one of the classrooms in our building, and just help to shape the disposition of our staff and students. So we've checked this many times. There we go.
When you think about DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, you probably think it's a legal issue or an immigration issue. But teachers groups across the country say DACA and its legislative future are an education issue. Today, teachers' unions and education organizations will gather on Capitol Hill to push lawmakers to take action before time runs out for undocumented students and teachers in classrooms across the country. State Impact Ohio's Ashton Mara reports.
They was laughing and making fun of him
Was that before he was smart or after?
before.
Okay, but where's the irony?
Tiana Gilbert is a 25-year-old English language arts teacher at Roberts Academy on Cincinnati's west side. On a Wednesday afternoon, she walks her 8th grade students through an exercise identifying irony in their latest reading. A typical day in her classroom, she says. But since early September, Gilbert says there are more and more not typical days. Days when the questions she's asked are difficult to answer.
Am I going to get deported? Am I going to be sent back? What do I do if immigration comes to my house? What if they come to Roberts?
The questions are common, Gilbert says, in a school where 2/3 of the students are Hispanic, a large number of whom are either the children of immigrants or immigrants themselves. Gilbert started teaching at Roberts 3 years ago through Teach for America, a national program that places college graduates in schools with a large number of low-income students. This summer, as a mentor for new TFA members, Gilbert attended an organization-wide training that helped prepare her for those difficult questions.
This is but one of the situations that our students are faced with on a daily basis, and they come to our school bright-eyed, smiling, because they recognize our school as a safe place, a welcoming place, and we have teachers like Ms. Gilbert, Ms. Edwards, Mr. Bird. We have parents like Ms. Perez who are there to support them despite what may be going on in our social climate. Again, very honored to work with such high-class individuals and a community of learners. A quick overview of Roberts Academy. This picture happens to be a day where Withrow University students came to Roberts to help engage some of our 4th and 5th graders in team building activities, and that's what you see here. We have 814 students at Roberts. We have approximately 60 support staff, paraprofessionals, lunchroom staff, facilities. We have 52 certificated staff members who are supporting our students as well. And it is the collective efforts of all of those individuals who are working together on a daily basis, meeting the challenges that many of us do not have the precise answers, but they work hard to find solutions and to serve our students' needs as much as they can. One of the ways that we do this is through our lead agency, the Community Learning Center Institute, which is led by Darlene Kamine. They are our lead community partner, and can't do it without them. Tracy Power is our hub director. She does a wonderful job ensuring that our many partners who work with us are coordinated with logistics and integrated with curriculum, from a curriculum perspective, with the work that our teachers are doing. Activity Beyond the Classroom, they support us in our after-school program with fun and engaging physical activities. Lavinia Church, they are supporting us with building a fun and community atmosphere. We have over 500 parents who join us in August, September time for fun, music, and food on our campus. Superintendent Mitchell had joined me this past September as we enjoyed those times. A great atmosphere for our families. Santa Maria, they serve us and serve our parents in our evening English classes. So parents come who learn English. They do this twice a week in the evenings for those parents who may not speak English as their first language. The Anthony Munoz Foundation, they put on 2 camps throughout our year to build character inside of our young, it's for boys, young men, and they do a little bit of football skills as well. Elder High School, they support us with tutoring on an ongoing basis. The City Gospel Mission, they also contribute in our after-school program with Princess Ballet, Whiz Kids tutoring, as well as our soccer club. Hamilton County Educational Services, we couldn't do the work with our that we do with our staff members to develop them without their support. It's a big school, there's a lot of responsibilities. I consider myself the instructional leader there, but with the support of Hamilton County, we can have instructional coaches who go inside of the classrooms, work one-on-one with teachers to develop their instructional strategies and skills. CELC, our early learning partner, they help organize what we do on the west side of Cincinnati as well as all over Cincinnati really with our early childhood programs, ensuring that those programs are high quality and that they are the ones can feed into our school and integrate with our community in a seamless fashion. I'm very proud of that partnership. I'll have Mr. Bird will talk about the SIOP model, which is is the umbrella protocol that we use to teach our students within an English classroom, but Spanish may be their home language. We use the SIOP model not to teach them in English, but there are specific strategies that are used to help them learn the language, even though English is not their first language. And the My Tomorrow initiative, which was started under Superintendent Mitchell as the assistant superintendent, we are, as a CPS school, in alignment with this, but this kind of work in the elementary setting shows its face most clearly, I would say, in the advisory component. And our fourth, and now third, fourth, and fifth grade students, all the way through 8th grade, are focusing their attention on what kind of careers that they would like to do when they get older. And then with our older students, they're already looking at their high schools, and they decorate their doors, and they're very proud about what high schools that they are looking to go to here in the district and elsewhere. And our partnership with UC, I'm going to highlight this with a Channel 12 report on our UC STEP program. And I have to say, we love moms, because Channel 12 removed this video from their site because I think just they can't keep all the videos on their site. But my mom actually videoed it on her phone on the TV when I told her about it. So she had it still. So we love moms.
Who doesn't? It helps to start working in that direction when you're young. That advice really isn't surprising, but most schools don't have classes in financial literacy.
As we continue to explore the reasons for childhood poverty in Cincinnati, there's a group working to change the statistics for all of us. Local 12's Paula Tony looks at the kids getting lessons in saving.
Do you all like money?
Yeah!
Even fake money can help bring about real lessons in finance.
I want to buy him a car.
Along the way to long-term goals are some smaller ones, like getting pencils, erasers, kid stuff, with a school store set up at Roberts Fidea Academy.
It's like math almost. All the money you spend, it's like minus, subtract.
Then if they really saw something that they wanted, they will work towards that goal. So there's goal making. I can't even list all the positives.
The money is earned through accomplishments and is spent, saved, or even converted to real money and given to charity.
She saved all of her money, so next time she's starting with $583. So she got interest because she decided to save.
What you are seeing is called the STEP program, run by the University of Cincinnati's Economics Center. Grant money and teaming with business partners keeps the program going. Local financial experts have been eager to volunteer in schools, places where balancing a checkbook or compound interest are hardly mentioned.
I'm very surprised. I think it's something that has, is totally ignored, and understanding the ins and outs of personal finance is so important for people to, put themselves on the right track.
Not only is there the joy of getting an item that's really cool, but sometimes you can't afford what you want, and you have to figure out how to get there.
You help me with the math, right? So that's another bonus. And you ask me a question, so look at that. It's 20 bonus points.
Even with bonus points, expensive items take persistence. So now how long will it take you to save for an MP3 player?
Probably this whole year.
Volunteers with the program believe if we were to mandate financial literacy in every classroom, it would be far-reaching, not just for students who come from economically disadvantaged situations. They're seeing students go to UC who can't balance a checkbook or manage money, and statistics that don't look good. A national study finds Ohio residents in the bottom 4 in the U.S. in terms of paying off credit card debt. Indiana's second worst and Kentucky fourth for not having a rainy day fund. So it's pretty exciting when you see young people bucking the trend and setting money goals for the future.
And what do you want to buy when you get older?
I actually want to own a business. Like, I want to save money so I can own a business.
High five me. That's awesome.
Paula Todi, Local 12 News.
Leaders in the Ohio Department of Education.
So that's a snapshot in what is happening at Roberts Academy. It is truly a community learning center. They're not only to serve children, but their parents, the Price Hill community abroad. We are very much invested in a revitalization of our area. So at this point, I'm going to have Ms. Edwards just share briefly her experience as a staff member.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I want to talk to you a little bit about our team collaboration at Roberts. Our staff configuration is grade level teams. These teams include the certified classroom teacher as well as the intervention specialist who is there to support the students with special needs, and also an ESL teacher who specializes in working with English language learners. At the primary level, there are also paraprofessionals in each classroom to further support student needs within the classroom. This allows students to be instructed in small groups at their ability level at that time. Groups are reconfigured as students progress. Even the specialist teachers, art, music, gym, and technology are willing to work with the classroom teacher to provide experiences to enhance and support a concept. Each team meets weekly to collaborate. During these meetings, everything from student assessments and data is discussed to drive instruction and academic decisions. Also, there is sharing of instructional methods and materials, cross-curricular support, attendance issues, and field trips, to name a few of the important issues that drive momentum. These meetings are very important to keep the academic process moving in a timely manner. Another important aspect is parent engagement. At Roberts, we also have outstanding parent engagement. As you know, parent support is one of the most important aspects of student success. Our parents are very interested in the progress of their children. Even though many of them are not English speakers, they show up for parent conferences and support the teachers, establishing with their children respect for the teacher, high expectations for learning, and being responsible. Our students are motivated to succeed, no matter how difficult the task. They are encouraged to try both at home and at school. Parents also engage themselves in activities which help them become stronger support system to their children, such as English classes, literacy nights, and the WOW Parent Learning Day.
Mr. Bird.
All right. So part of the reason that we're successful is our staff have really bought into what we are. Our teachers have worked very hard to deepen their knowledge base on how to support our changing population and individual students. Many teachers have participated in the Future Class Grant. Some of us have gotten training to help support this population. Some of that Future Class Grant was technology. We've really been integrating technology to help individualize our teaching to our individual students. As part of a buy-in, some of our teachers and staff even went on trips to go explore where our students are coming from. Mr. Beauchamp made a trip down to Oaxaca, Mexico. Miss Edwards and myself, we went to Guatemala and explored some of the school systems that our kids were coming from, and trying to deepen the background knowledge that we could apply in the classroom. The teachers have been evolving their teaching practices to become more receptive and more supportive of students with different needs, moving from I can't mentality to the how do I do this and can you help me? With programs like advisory, the students have been buying in, the My Tomorrow. They're not invested in right now, they're invested in my future, their future. Our support for English language learners, we've developed increasing collaboration between the teachers and our EL support team. Many teachers have begun to implement teaching practices that are not just good for ELs, but good for all. We have seen a systematic change in content delivery with our SIOP model. SIOP is Sheltered Instructional Operation Protocol. It really helps deliver lessons to kids so that they can understand what's being taught without the language barrier. And all teachers are striving to implement SIOP components into their classrooms so that we can meet the needs of all of our learners through a variety of different methods. Our teachers have attended SIOP training and received support from both our EL staff inside the building as well as people that are outside of the building. As a result, our teachers have been integrating teaching styles into their instruction that produce greater comprehension of what is being taught and more production from students that may not have produced as much in a different and a more traditional teaching method or model. We are continuing and striving to meet the needs of all of our students, and I believe we can probably do even better. So, thank you.
Ms. Perez. Ms. Perez, one of our lovely parents.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Milagros Perez. I am an English teacher. I graduated from the University of Puerto Rico. I am also a mother of two wonderful children, Kiara, she's an 8th grader, and Omar, who's in 3rd grade. 6 years ago, like many parents, I moved to Ohio with the hopes of giving my children a better future. Unfortunately, my daughter Kiara suffered bullying in her previous school, and as you can imagine, I was desperate to find a better school where social and moral values had the same weight as test scores. I can say that I was fortunate and lucky enough to find Roberts. Kiara was in 4th grade when she started at Roberts, and as a teacher and a mother, I noticed how excited she was to go to school every day. Her grades started to improve, and she started making friends. 2 years ago, she had the opportunity to go to a private school. I was open to the idea. She wasn't. She reminded me of how happy she was and how she didn't see herself being able to be in a different school. She loves the staff, hardworking teachers, and her friends and classmates who have become a family, well, because they all grew up together, because they never want to leave. Her growth as a responsible and successful student has been amazing, thanks to her teachers, that they don't only teach but guide and inspire to be critical, hardworking, compassionate, and respectful individuals. Of course, this amazing team is only possible because it was led by an amazing principal, Mr. Beauchamp. Kara's improvement inspired myself to quit my job and come to work for Cincinnati Public Schools. I am fortunate enough to land a position working at Roberts as a paraprofessional. I support English language learners achieve their goals. On behalf of my family and our learning community, I would like to thank Mr. Beauchamp for your time and dedication, for making us your priority at all times, for making Roberts a home away from home, for keeping our kids feel safe, inspired, and like you say, every morning, ready to learn. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Lakeisha?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Lakeisha Chambers. When asked about a time I was pushed to do my best, I instantly thought about my 7th grade social studies teacher, Ms. Beckman. She saw me failing not only in her class, but in others. It's not that I didn't care, I didn't understand it. I used to hate asking for help, and I guess she knew it. One day she pulled me aside and told me that she was going to help me and wasn't going to stop until I got a better grade in all of my classes. I tried my hardest to say no. I didn't want any help. I was scared to get help because we started on bad terms. And even though she's a teacher, I don't make a lot of friends that easily. I was the type of student who held in all their tears and anger and released it in a small, quiet place where no one could hear me. Ms. Beckman, she was the #1 person when I was in 7th grade that actually helped me with that. She never left anyone behind, no matter how sad, angry, or happy they were. Because of that experience, I would speak up. I will also try to help others do the same and not let anyone hide their joy or intelligence. I want to be a leader, and from that day forward, I learned how to advocate for myself and also help others around me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Darwin. At Roberts Academy, I like to help other people. I remember one time my friend named Josue. He was new to the school and needed help because he only spoke Spanish. So I decided to help translate what the teacher said to him, and he understood fully. Now he can't understand what the teacher said to him. Also, a lot of my teachers put me next to classmates who need help learning the language, and I help them because they don't understand fully. In Ms. Gilbert's class, we sometimes read higher grade level, and it's important for me to sit next to people who struggle, but I help them so they can pass 8th grade, so in the future they can know how to communicate with others. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Caesar. I started school at Roberts Academy in kindergarten. Kindergarten for me did not begin until January when I moved from Argentina, but I was born in Guatemala. The first day of school for me was hard because I didn't know English, only Spanish. I got lost on the second day of school and found someone who spoke Spanish and could help me find my classroom. My kindergarten and first grade teachers would send me home with letters, numbers, and words to practice in English. This helped to build my confidence. School started to become easier for me as I learned English. I love school and get sad when I can't go to school for the day. 3rd grade has been fun and harder for me this year because I'm learning so much more than I did last year. I'm excited to see how much I can still learn this year. Thank you.
So again, thank you to the CPS Board of Education, Superintendent Mitchell. As you see, we are a community of learners built on the foundations of those who came before us. I'm very honored and privileged to have followed Principal Vera Brooks, who helped to lead a wonderful foundation. And so this Momentum Award, we spoke when it first came out, and I said, you know, this is a reflection of what happened before, and I'm honored to carry this forward. We have great students and great staff members and parents who are also, and partners who we spoke about earlier, who are all working together to move us in that direction. So again, thank you, and any questions?
Do board members have questions or comments? Mr. Morosky.
I just want to say congratulations. This is really awesome. You all should be so proud. And as someone who spends a lot of personal and professional time in the Price Hills and is friends with Tracy Power, I think it's just so remarkable what you do. And you three, thanks so much. That was the highlight of my day so far, and probably will be forever for the rest of the day. That was really awesome. So congratulations. You all should be so proud. And school culture, as you know, Mr. Beauchamp, is so important. It sounds like you got that unlocked. Going from a culture of I can't to can you help me. That wrote that down. That's really great. So congrats.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bolton.
Very quickly, since Mr. Beauchamp mentioned his mom, I will mention his father, who some of you may know is an outstanding Bengals player. Some years ago, and it's great that you carry his name and carry his pursuit of excellence. I appreciate it. I also want to commend you to mentioning Principal Vera Brooks, who helped invent Roberts with the help of the Community Learning Center Institute. And most particularly, you of all people are the best to carry on that tradition. But I will also say it's where a school figured out what the community needed and responded to it, built it around the community. And very frankly, you also are playing a large part in helping the community, not only the English language learner community, but more particularly the geographic community of the West Side in dealing with the demographic changes that are coming and have happened. So you're playing a very important sociological role as well as an educational role, and I'm very happy to see a son of a Bengal leading the way.
Thank you, Ms. Bolton.
Other questions and comments? Well, Mr. Beauchamp, congratulations on the Momentum Award that you received, and to all your team and the excellent work that you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Actually, it would be wonderful if you could just make a round to everybody. That way, we all get to shake your hands. Okay. And as they're shaking hands, thank you so much. Yes. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for your work. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Very nice. Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you. Great job. Yes. Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you. Ms. Mitchell, our next presenter.
So we have a short presentation regarding career tech education in the district. This was given to the administration as an assignment by the board to do an update so that the board could learn more about our career tech offerings within our district. And so Kelly Broscheid is here to make a presentation. Kelly Broscheid is our career tech manager.
So good morning. I'm going to get started here in a minute, but I wanted to invite you all to head over here and have some delicious lunch that was prepared today by our culinary students at Gilbert Dater High School. Every one of the culinary students participated in preparing the food, and we have 2 students here today that are helping to serve, so please feel free. I won't think it's rude. I would love to see you enjoying, and they brought soup, which I've had, and it is absolutely wonderful, so I encourage you. So my name is Kelly Broscheid, and I brought with me one of our students today. This is Mary Williams. She is a at Hughes and helped tremendously in putting together this presentation, so I wanted to have her up here with me, and we'll talk more about what she did as we go through. So I'm keeping this very basic. What is career tech? Career tech is a pathway consisting of career-focused courses and experiences that prepare students for success in post-secondary and the workplace, not or, and. Historically, career tech, and otherwise known as vocational programs, were considered an alternative to college. Students enrolled in a career tech program as an alternative to a college pathway. Today, career tech is a choice that helps students move more quickly through both their career and educational goals. One common misconception that career tech students don't have to meet the same academic and course requirements. That is not true. They have to do exactly the same as every other student in a high school, as well as complete challenging coursework that's focused on a career field. CTE is a way for students to gain in-demand technical skills and get a head start on their post-secondary education. I like to call it the ultimate college prep. Why do we offer career tech education? We are required. So Ohio Revised Code requires that we offer career tech to students in grades 7 through 12, and that we must provide at least 12 programs in 8 different career fields, as well as offer middle school programming. So what does that mean? Career fields are groups of occupations, industries, majors that have common skills and knowledge. Ohio recognizes 16 career fields. These are them, so health, construction, law and public safety, manufacturing, those are all examples of career fields. Career pathways are more career-focused coursework and experiences that lead to a career specialty and a seamless transition from high school to post-secondary and employment in a career field. Ohio recognizes 39 pathways, and just to give you an example of a pathway in the health field, there are 4 pathways in the state of Ohio: exercise and sports medicine, allied health and nursing, medical bioscience, and health information management. All career tech programs are connected to post-secondary education. There are 3 different ways, and I'm not going to get too deep into this because it's a little confusing, but they can earn statewide articulated credit that can transfer to public institutions around the state. They can also earn local articulated credit with some of our partners, locally UC and Cincinnati State are great partners in terms of articulated credit. Both of those 2 options have no cost to the district, which is why we like those, or to the student. And then there's College Credit Plus that can also be earned as part of career tech. I just wanted to make a note here that we receive a lot of support from our local Tech Prep Support Center, which is a state-funded resource for all the career tech providers in our region. Terry Benedict is here with me today. She represents, and they do a tremendous job in connecting us, our teachers, our students, our schools, with our post-secondary partners, as well as employers through events, workshops, really helping to make sure that we're aligning our curriculum with the post-secondary experiences so that we can maximize the benefits to our students. Funding for career tech, there are 2 funding sources: the Carl D. Perkins Grant, which is a federal grant that is used to supplement and strengthen career technical programs. And there are state-weighted funds. They are determined based upon the high demand career fields. The higher demand the career field, the higher the weighting for the funding. Most of our programs fall in the higher weight, so we're good there. And the funds that we receive, there is a requirement that 75% of those funds go directly to supporting the programs through equipment, supplies, things that the teachers and students need to move through the program, have robust programs, and then 25% can be used to support personnel costs. Career tech delivery models. There are actually 3 in the state of Ohio, and this is a little confusing. The first one is called a JVSD for short, a Joint Vocational District, which serves 2 or more adjacent districts. Butler Tech and Great Oaks are probably 2 that you're familiar with in our region, and they are partners with the districts around them. They have a joint board, and they have funding, joint funding tied to levies that support those partnerships. They provide programming in centers, so at the Butler Tech, the beautiful Butler Tech that you see off 75 and some of the Great Oaks campuses around town. But they also have programs within some of their member schools, such as Turpin High School, Oak Hills, etc. A compact contract district is where a group of school districts form together to deliver career tech to their students. So a student may go participate in a career tech program at a different district. So they partner together to deliver the variety of career tech programming among those districts. And then last is the comprehensive district, which is us. Often a larger district that provides their own CTE program within the district. Programs can be located in multiple high schools like we have, or in a dedicated building. Districts and community schools are organized into what's called a Career Technical Planning District. They, CTPDs, as they're referred to, serve as the lead district, and we're responsible for approving programs that get sent to the state for state approval. We are our own CTPD. We also have oversight over the community schools in our region. So those that are offering any career technical program have to submit their applications for approval through us. And their accountability is recorded. We are accountable for their performance. There are very few programs in our community schools, so that's not a significant issue for us right now. So Career Tech in Cincinnati Public Schools. Our programs are embedded in 10 of our high schools. Why our model works. Historically, traditionally, Career Tech is a go-to model. Students will leave their school and travel to another location to receive the Career Tech training. Typically, a student will go starting in their 11th grade and spend part or all of the day at the Career Center to receive their training and other academic education. It's a challenge, and when I speak with my partners around the state who are in career centers, recruitment and enrollment is very difficult. There are many students and families that just won't leave their school. They don't want to leave their friends, they don't want to leave their neighborhoods, and in many cases they have a negative perception of what happens in these wonderful facilities. Our model, I like to call it the go-to. We bring the programs to our students. They're embedded in our high school. The classes are just part of the student's day. They don't have to leave to participate in their training and education. It is seamless for our students. It also, well, let me go back one more. I wanted to just touch on one thing. A trend where I always felt like we were an outlier in the state, Akron is under a big initiative where they're moving career tech programs into all of their high schools. So I feel like, once again, we might have been a leader in the state in terms of what we were doing. I know we were actually offering career tech in the 7th and 8th grade before it became a mandate with the state. We knew it was an opportunity to introduce the career options for our students early, and it was recognized as we were recognized as a leader for that. Okay, thanks. Our student participation is 4,200 students across 10 high schools. Over 1,200 of those are in grades 7 and 8. Just a little bit of good news is in 2016, we're a little bit lag in our data. 90% of our graduates were employed, enrolled, or enlisted 6 months after graduation. So that's happy. We're happy about that. So just talk briefly about our programs. We have agriculture programs at Gamble and the Zoo Academy. Gamble, they're planting orchards and gardens. The zoo, they're taking care of animals, and the gardens, they're working in labs with the various folks from the zoo every day. Arts and Communication, SCPA, kind of a secret that they are actually a very large career technical school. They're performing arts, dance, music, drama, and their technical theater, which is a really strong program, stage design, lighting, and costuming, as well as our visual design, where they are doing beautiful things with art. Withrow has a business program. It's a national model, High School of Business, which includes a partnership or a participation in DECA, which is a national student organization. We have our construction program at Woodward. They're building a tiny house if you want to go out and check it out. And they're also about to begin a community build where part of an Impact 100 grant, they will be building a house within the community that they will then sell and hopefully get enough money back to build another one. In health, we have quite a few programs. We have a biomedical at Hughes, clinical healthcare patient services at Riverview, and at Woodward we have biotechnology, exercise science, and patient care. Hospitality and Tourism, our wonderful culinary program at Dater High School. IT, we have IT at Taft and at Hughes, and Mary is a member of our Hughes Programming and Software Development program. Engineering at both Aiken and Hughes. Law and Public Safety at West High, where they're being trained to be EMTs. Manufacturing at Woodward, where they're welding. So I could talk more and more about what they're doing, but we thought it would be best to just let you watch it. So our students are creating landscapes, growing and harvesting food, planting orchards, hanging lighting for stage, programming computerized lighting, designing and construction theater sets and props that are used backstage, using rigging skills to put sets and props in the proper location backstage, analyzing a script for design, running all aspects of the show production, including budgeting and marketing, designing, creating, altering, and enhancing costumes for small and large productions. They can engineer a live recording session, design, create, paint, and animate art, digitize art using 3D printers and laser cutters, collaborate to solve real and unique problems. They can interpret blueprints, frame and build a house, run electrical wiring and plumbing. They're Serve Safe certified and can work safely in a kitchen, including using knives. They're able to scale ingredients to prepare food for any number of people. They can draw blood, take blood pressure, record heart rate, and read EKGs, isolate DNA, do culture for bacteria, perform PCRs, I'm not even gonna try to read it, to make multiple copies of gene interest. They create digital 2D and 3D stories, create websites, write computer programs in multiple language. They're project managers, welders, machine operators. They build and operate robots. They script, produce, and edit stories for the PBS NewsHour that have actually been aired nationally. Research, plan, design, build, and test prototypes. Our students are getting certified as welders in OSHA 1030 and in confined spaces, state certified nursing assistants, phlebotomists, physical therapy aides, patient care techs, pharmacy techs, core construction for certifications, and restaurant managers. They're going on to colleges, apprenticeships, training programs, the military, and directly into careers. So, is that almost done? Yep. Lastly, I just thought I would sum up with one of our graduates talking about his experience.
I think the program helped everything. It helped me benefit from it helped me get away from it helped me get away from a lot of things. It helped me get away from the violence. It helped me get into actual learning, actually getting into something I want to do, and it helped my career, and it will help me further on down the line by knowing that I actually had a good start.
I think you summed it up well. So I just want to give a special thanks to Mary, who actually created the video that you just watched. Her students helped capture some of the pictures and videos, but she edited and produced it all by herself, which was with a little help from another student who has the flu and couldn't be here, Eric. Our Dater culinary students for preparing our food. And I'd like to thank Leah Hartman. If you look under your waters at SCPA, she created coasters for you to keep, just a little memento, just to demonstrate some of the really awesome, great things that are happening in our career tech programs. So I know that was really fast, but I didn't want to take too much of your time, but if you have any questions.
Do board members have questions or comments? Mr. Messer.
I want to say thank you very much. A few of us over the past year met with lots and lots of people during a little thing called a campaign. And I will say that this is something that a lot of people had a passion about, and I got lots of questions about it. And I will say I think a lot of those people would appreciate all the work that you've done here. I think it's fascinating. One of the questions I wrote down is how are we tracking these students after graduation, and that 90% is phenomenal. So I just want to say thank you, and I think this is an opportunity for a little PR in the community, because it was parents, but it was also other people who are trying to help us solve the poverty epidemic in this city. And you're doing things that will allow people to go right to the workforce that might not have otherwise had that chance, so thank you. And so my question is, I was interested in the 8 that you selected out of the 16 that were called out. Are those evaluated based on CBC or Chamber of Commerce job projections long-term, or city projections? How are those 8 determined, and how long are those updated?
So it's not easy to turn over a program, but our majority of our programs are in high demand areas, and so we're frequently tweaking them to align with what the demands are in the business and industries, working with our tech prep partner around what the expectations are at the post-secondary level. If you noticed, we are heavy in IT, engineering, manufacturing, healthcare, construction. Those are the big in-demand areas in our region. Culinary, while many might say it's not that in demand, I spent some time working with the Greater Cincinnati Visitors Bureau around trying to build a campaign to attract more people to that industry, because it is actually a high demand and contributes dramatically to our local economy.
Mr. Morosky, followed by Mr. Timmons.
I have a question for Mary. What do you like about your program?
IT or the PBS NewsHour program?
The IT program.
What I like about the IT program is it opened a lot of doors for me, because ever since I started working, in the IT program, I started working at UC as an intern doing IT, so it helped me a lot, especially with finding my future and what I want to do.
Pretty cool. Thanks.
Mr. Timmons?
Yes. When I was at Woodward, I just retired, well, not just retired, but 6 years ago. And I seen how the kids in the building tech program, how that really benefited them. Because some kids, they just don't want to be in a classroom setting after they get out of high school. They want to go to something that they're really good at, or what they put a lot of focus on. So just continue doing what you're doing. I like that.
Other, Ms. Copeland Dansby?
Well, Mary, you're doing a fantastic job. It was a pleasure to meet you about a week or so ago, and then to see you here again. And so just the courage, I think, that we've heard from our students today with this presentation and the one before this, Superintendent. We've got a lot going on and a lot to be proud of. I want to echo one thing that Mr. Messer, or Board Member Messer, mentioned. The community may not know that these wonderful, exciting things are happening with measurable, trackable results. And so I'm going to encourage us to tell our story more, and we could take Mary with us because she can deliver the message in that. But I'm very proud of you, and I'm very appreciative of your information here today.
Thank you.
Thank
Mary?
you for giving us the opportunity.
Yep. Clarify your Hughes.
Yep.
Okay. Hey, I just had to make a point of that. That's my, that's where I graduated from many years ago.
Yeah,
Okay,
you said it at
thank
the
you.
meeting.
I'm sorry?
You said it at the meeting, I remember.
Oh, you were there. Okay, wonderful.
And I just want to thank
Congratulations.
our Curriculum Council Chair, Melissa Sherman,
Okay.
and our coach,
Thank
Rick
you.
Pridemore, who have been,
Thank
they're
you.
both my right hands.
Yes. Thank you so much for that presentation. So just a brief reminder that I forgot to do before the meeting started. These culinary students want us to eat their food. We have to, so please, if you want to eat, board members, please do so. I can't right now, so save some
We
for
can
me.
serve
Thank
you. Would you like to be served?
That would be great. Would you like to be served? No, because, yeah, if they want to just get up, we're going to proceed with the program because we're a little bit behind, but we will go ahead and they will pay attention as we move forward here. Thank you so much. Okay, moving on. Ms. Bates, do you have any retirements to present?
I do not this meeting, but thank you.
Thank you. And are there any kudos? Kudos? None today. Okay. So we're going to move on to a very important item on our agenda, and that's the hearing of the public. Each speaker has 3 minutes to speak, and Mrs. Wagner will be our timekeeper. She's on the end. When the buzzer goes off, your 3 minutes are up. Please refrain from discussing any personnel items. When your name is called, please come to the podium to speak. And what I'm going to do is call the first 3 so you all can get prepared so we can kind of keep a flow going, okay? Craig Rosen, followed by Shirley Jones, followed by Steve Smith.
Good morning, Superintendent Mitchell, President Jones, Vice President Dansby, board members, Treasurer Wagner, our administration, and those in attendance. My name is Craig Rosen. In addition to being a parent of 2 CPS students, I am also proud to consider myself a friend of the district. I stand before you today very excited for what the future holds. First off, I'd like to thank our newly elected board members, our newly appointed board president and vice president, and say that the time is ripe to start looking at our transparency and our constituent engagement. As board member Messer just alluded to, we came off a very active campaign cycle last year, and the benefit of that is that we had multiple people who now sit on the board that were out listening to those that were within the community. I think it's very critical that we provide more opportunities for the public to be heard, and therefore I would like to thank the board for allowing this Wednesday meeting to flow in that process. I remember when this was originally a PPE or a COW, Committee of the Whole, and then it became a standard business meeting. At those meetings, there was much important information to be discussed. However, the public was not allowed to do so. So I am grateful that you afford us this opportunity to stand before you. With that being said, while there is much hope for the district has seen accelerated enrollment, much improvement as it relates to neighborhood schools, magnet schools, career and educational tech. There still needs to be some work done, and that relates to transparency and constituent engagement. As we know, there's some discussions that the board is going to undertake regarding FCC. I'm a proud supporter of our local Cincinnati soccer club, and I would love to see them move to an MLS expansion. With that being said, a stadium is an issue for them. However, as we just witnessed in Oakley, engagement has not gone as effectively as the community would like. As former past president, vice president, and trustee of the Oakley Community Council, I was saddened that the Community Council had to come out against the city's desired interest in how they were going to fund an FCC stadium in Oakley. And as we know, after the proposal, the 2 parties got together along with other stakeholders and redid the draft. If there's going to be discussion about Cincinnati Public Schools and a West End stadium, I'm really upset that we've known about this opportunity that FCC is looking for a long time, but this is the first we're hearing about it in a public forum. Whether the board has had discussions in executive session or not, I believe it's critical that we look at ways to improve our engagement. Whether that is looking at our former family and community engagement team and bringing some type of opportunity back, or it's incorporating people on subcommittees. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rosen. Next, Shirley Jones.
Good morning.
Good morning.
and certainly to the board and to any other who may be in our midst. I am grateful for this opportunity. I am Shirley J. Jones. I am the Vice President of the Taft High School Alumni Association, as well as a Taft High School 1966 graduate. And I've heard the words that I relate to mentioned here this morning, like passion and encouragement and all of those words that inspire me. I'm not here because I'm not a current West End resident, and I'm not here because I stand to gain or lose anything financially as it relates to the soccer field and FCCs, but I am passionate about the West End. My parents moved here from Boston, Massachusetts when I was 6 months old, so Cincinnati is all I know. And they moved directly to the West End. And when Taft High School was erected, I was 10 years old. That became the love of my life, my whole desire to attend Taft High School. And as many of you know, if you grew up here in Cincinnati, high school here in Cincinnati is a big deal. I mean, when people ask me where I went to school, I don't say I went to Xavier. I say, I went to Taft. Because that's what they're asking me. What high school did you go to? That's a Cincinnati culture thing. But I don't want this whole thing to begin and end as it relates to the soccer stadium and the West End without people knowing that there's more to it than dollars and cents and a soccer field. There are people who really have their hearts invested here in the West End, people who no longer live here. And we come all the time. We're at Taft all the time. We mentor all the time. And we do the best we can for where we came from. And when I think about it, when I first heard the possibility that the West End would just like, and there would be a soccer field, in my mind, and I'm sure not only in my mind alone, it was like telling African Americans that the motherland was no longer going to exist. And I've never been to Africa, but it would befuddle me to know that there would never be an Africa, even though that's not where I came from. But I did come from the West End, and so I do know how people feel about it. Not just African Americans alone. Many of my Caucasian classmates feel the same way. And there was a guy, one of my Caucasian classmates, who came to see me last year, and because of my position with the alumni and because I had this 1966 class efforts, he brought me a brick from the old Taft High School. He passed away 2 months later. But that brick became so special to me because it was special to him. And it sort of represented how most Taft graduates feel about Taft and about the West End. And I just didn't want all of this to happen and go away without people knowing how the masses feel about Taft High School.
Ms. Jones, your 3 minutes are up.
I thank you
I'm
so very
sorry.
much.
Thanks.
How we doing? Thank you all
Hello.
for allowing me to be here today. I know a few of you. Steve Smith, for those of you who don't know me. I am the chair of Taft High School's LSDMC. I'm also on the BECC and on Grad Cincinnati's board. And I'm also president of a Wired Family. So to say that I'm interested in education would absolutely be an understatement. I can tell you that I got involved with Taft High School about 5 years ago when I was at Cincinnati Bell and I took over the tutoring program. And I got to tell you, the school touched my heart, and in fact, many of those students today, even those who have graduated, are literally a part of my family. Now, I'm also a businessman, and when I first heard about the FCC situation, I looked at it not as the glass half empty, but as half full, because having lived on the west side of town my entire life, the west side usually does not necessarily get the good stuff that the city has to offer. And by that I mean economic development. Economic development in the west side of Cincinnati, anything west of I-75 doesn't seem to happen that often. So I can see FCC Cincinnati, if it's properly placed, actually helping the legacy of Taft High School and the community. I mean, we're supposed to be a community center, Taft High School, and in fact, we are. But if putting a stadium and the associated parking and the associated housing that's being discussed in that specific area, if that's going to happen, that's going to destroy the legacy of Taft High School, the students that are there, and all of those stakeholders that have put time, energy, money, blood, sweat, and tears into that community. So, look, I understand it's a business decision, but in business you got to have a heart, right? And I just ask you to have heart. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next three speakers, Tia Brown, Alexis Kidd, Sterling Rogers Trice.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Tia Brown, and I'm coming to this board as a person who works in the West End at the Seven Hills Neighborhood Houses. I attend church in the West End at Bright Star Community Church. I live in the West End, and I'm a director of the West End Art Gallery. I'm asking that CPS be forthcoming with information regarding any discussions of Taft Field and negotiations in connection with FCC. As a community member, I'm asking that the community be included in conversations on what the community thinks and feels about possible development. The West End history of development is rich with devastations as far back as the 50s when I-75 was built and Queensgate, a neighborhood with 0 people, ripped through the neighborhood, and recent history of the destruction of Lincoln Court and Laurel Homes, where the community was left in pieces with unfulfilled promises on Hope 6 from CMHA. We know that development is needed and is coming to the West End, but we want that development to be truly equitable and with the community at the table. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Alexis Kidd, and I want to thank you all for this opportunity to speak before you today. Recognizing some of the faces actually joined us during election season, so it's good to see you sitting before us, and I have full confidence in you all today. Like I said, my name is Alexis Kidd. I'm the Executive Director of Seven Hills Neighborhood Houses. I also serve on LSDMCs at Taft High School and at Hayes Porter School. Seven Hills Neighborhood Houses as an organization has been serving the West End for 55 years, providing after-school programs, summer day camps, youth employment opportunities, and we've also been a partner with CPS for many years as well. We're currently the lead agency for Place Matters in the West End, and so for that, what that means is that basically we help to craft a community plan, which was voted on and is sitting in the halls of City Hall. It's a plan that not only did the adults of the community, but also youth of the community help to shape. Taft High School students were at the table, Hayes Porter School students were at the table, other schools in the community were at the table and helped shape that plan. This included youth and education. In the line of the quality of life plan, CPS's goals line up with it as well. The most significant goal of CPS that lines up is great communities. That goal is to cultivate a robust and inclusive network of engaged parents, community, and other stakeholders that work together to build safe, vibrant schools at the center of safe, vibrant communities. This is at the heart of what brings me here today. CPS has a history of working to be more fiscally sound, but at the cost of what helps to support and establish great communities. Nearly 10 years ago, give or take a few years, CPS closed Heberly School and Bloom School. There were no stipulations in place to protect the community and ensure that the area remained vibrant. I'm a former CPS employee. I worked at Heberly School for many years. I know how energized the school was and how energizing it was to the area of the community. There were stores, laundromats, lots of kids and families. It's just a great family community. Today, that area of the West End is a ghost town. The properties were sold to developers that want to see market rate condos in both buildings. These prospectors are just holding these buildings with no concern to how it affects the surrounding community. When I had discussions with these gentlemen, the crazy part is they got these buildings for $60,000 each, and now they're willing to sell them for $5 to $6 million apiece. Your decision has a deep and definite effect on this area of the West End, and today you are preparing to make another decision. without truly considering the lasting effect that it will have on the West End community. Generations of families have lived in this community and want to remain in the West End. Your decision plays a major part in this in terms of affordability and opportunity. My request today is that you work with the West End stakeholders and develop a community benefits agreement with any purchaser to ensure that community involvement and there's a win-win effect for all parties involved. I believe in this board, and I continue to trust that you're going to do what's best for not only the children of our community, but the families of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. As Mr. Trice comes up, if Stefan, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the name right, Stefan Poise Hawktime? Okay. And Edith Thrower? Okay. Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Sterling Rogers Trice, and I'm a former employee of the Cincinnati Public Schools. I worked for a long time here, 24 and a half years, in fact. I'm also the president of the Robert A. Taft Alumni Association. And I must say, I graduated from Taft High School also back in '63. Proud people went to Taft High School. And we love Taft High School. And we really don't want to see Taft High School destroyed and or Stargell Stadium. Let's say that if you do decide to build a stadium there, what's going to happen is that on the west side of Taft High School, which had a lot of homes, they're going to require parking. You're going to take away most of the housing there in a lot of homes. If you go to the north, you're going to take away Revelation Baptist Church and other properties there. And if you go to the east, there's another small corner that you're going to take, but I can guarantee you, you will not mess with Music Hall and Cincinnati Police Station there. You will not do that. So what I would say is that there are other properties in the West End, east of Frisch's and all that land back down there, that you can possibly build a stadium there and leave Taft alone. Because we want Taft to stay as it is. My question to the board, I don't know if you can answer or not. Are you in some type of purchase deal with FC Cincinnati to have Taft High School and Stargell Stadium sold so that you can build this stadium there and decimate the community of the law homes and the rest of the West End? Thank you.
Thank you. Typically, we don't, just have a dialogue at this point, but I will, the board will address that question in our next conversation, just so we want people to be clear about that.
Appreciate that very much, ma'am.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Thrower? Or, I'm sorry, I might have missed the gentleman here. Stefan?
How y'all doing?
Good.
I got 3 minutes, 3.5.
3 minutes.
How y'all doing? I know most of y'all up there helped y'all get elected. Copeland, Messenger, Muskowski, right? Mike. Oh, I guess you knew. All right. God spoke about this, y'all. He did spoke about this in the Bible, y'all. He speak often about the poor. Everybody getting rich, but the poor keep leaving behind. It's up to y'all. CMHA, they got their deal up under the table. If y'all got a deal, get the money back. Y'all need to stop this, y'all. Real talk. We put y'all in the office for a reason. Y'all, it's in y'all hands now to vote down on this. Y'all had to, for real. I'm thinking Messenger was part of it from the construction, but he said it ain't his family. I thought that was a construction deal for him, but he said he wasn't part of the family. But we gotta stop this games we playing with babies, schools. Y'all probably lied to these babies that's up here. Yeah, we gonna do this and don't do it. We gotta stop playing. So if y'all do make that decision up for a stadium, put the community involved with them too. talking about getting them jobs too. We talking about from schools, not just one black, two black, three blacks folk. Nah, make it half and half if y'all want to do that. You see, CMH gave up their property. They gave up the property for $100 down. I know y'all might make a profit off selling the stadium. Is y'all worried about profit, or are you worried about people's lives? That's the key, y'all. We too daggone grown for this stuff, y'all. Real talk. Quit thinking about the money. Think about helping. Because when it's all over with, the money don't mean nothing. Remember that, y'all. We got Ann back there representing the FC. I asked her. She back there. She represents the FC. I asked her, what you think about this? She said, what you think about it? I said, it shouldn't happen. She said, me too, it shouldn't happen, but she got to do a job. She got a job to do. They pay her to do her job, to speak for them. And it's disrespectful that Jeff Birdie is not here. It's disrespectful that these pastors not here. Y'all pastors, if y'all go to church, they should be here talking to y'all. Not the public talking to y'all. They knew about this already, them pastors did. They already had it mapped out, planned out, paid for. We don't show up unless we get some money. What's in it for us? We got to stop this, y'all. God watching us. That's why we going around feeling sick all the time inside your body and the mind. We got to wake up, y'all. It's serious, deep. Unless I'm at the board education meeting, we got to start helping these babies in class. Quit shooting them up with Ritalin and Retinol, whatever you want to call it. This medicine make you crazy. Quit, y'all need to cut that. That's how y'all controlling these babies. Giving them medicine. Once the medicine wear off, next thing you'll do something crazy. We got to stop that. Bring home economics back in school. Teach them how to cook. I got 1 more minute, sisters.
No, the bell rang. I'm sorry, sir.
But we got to get
You'll have
serious,
plenty
y'all.
other opportunities, I'm
All
sure.
right, sis.
Okay.
I love
Thanks.
y'all. Nothing y'all can do about it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Edith Thrower, Christopher Griffin, and Kelly Prather.
The last time I spoke here, you all, the Cincinnati Public Schools and the Board of Education, you were building schools. You were in the beginning of a $100 million school construction project. And some of those schools that you built were in the West End. Today I represent the Fred Shuttlesworth chapter of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. I also represent Black Agenda Cincinnati. Both organizations have a passion for helping the underserved. And we're here today to voice our concerns about the exclusive actions of the Foosball Club of Cincinnati, or FC Cincinnati, and how the Cincinnati Board of Education may be complicit in those actions to take over the West End community with a soccer stadium at a CPS site. This is a continued gentrification of the West End, started some years ago in the 90s. And this is the continuation of gentrification of the West End and what's going on in other parts of the city. Gentrification consists of affluent people moving into low-income neighborhoods and causing the rents and housing values to increase. It's the displacement of the original residents and the physical upgrading of housing stock and the change in neighborhoods that have denied people of color, specifically blacks, access to fair and equal housing. So we're here, we feel, in a fight for racial justice. Mainly our concern is the fact that everyone seems to know, Ms. Dansby, about what's going on with this stadium scheme, but the residents of the West End, the organizations of the West End, Mr. Timmons, the churches in the West End, the children of the West End, everyone seems to know what's going on except for the stakeholders in that community. I attended a CMHA, Cincinnati Metropolitan Housing Authority board meeting last evening, and they voted to approve their process on an option purchase agreement for the sale of land to FC Cincinnati, who apparently are not only in the soccer business, but in the home building business. But CMHA, a public entity, failed. They failed residents of the West End, Ms. Bolton, when they did not engage them in the process. They didn't engage the community. And they've made it very clear, and as the gentleman from Oakley stated earlier, that the opinions, thoughts, and feelings of the families in the West End do not matter. In fairness to them, however, they did note in a third-party statement delivered by Ann Sessler that they plan to engage them later. We hope that you will engage the West End community or will be forced to engage that community and organize to elect people who care about our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Christopher Griffin, followed by Kelly Prather.
Good afternoon, Board. I don't have anything planned or anything written. I'm coming to you straight as a lifelong resident of the West End. So I'm gonna speak from the heart. And from the heart, I've been a resident, like I said, lifelong, and I've been through the process of seeing Laura Holmes and Lincoln Courts tore down. I've been through the process of losing friends through the process of it being torn down, of never, not meeting my friends again till maybe late teens. So I'm just coming to you. I mean, I don't even really have words. I'm just coming to you, like I said, just to talk to you guys, look at you guys face to face, to understand that it's really people that care about the West End. I run a youth program in the West End Reds. When I was younger, we had 6 teams in the West End. When the projects got tore down, we had 1. We are the only remaining youth baseball team in the West End. And I think we will lose that if FC Cincinnati have a stadium built in the West End. It's not a soccer program, it's probably 50 square miles within the West End. It's baseball, football, everything. You hear nothing about soccer. Taft High School doesn't even have a soccer program. Why do they want our neighborhood? What's in it for them? What's in it for us? What's in it for Miss Kidd, who runs the Seven Hills Neighborhood House? What's in it for us? They talking about building houses and entertainment. They didn't say anything. They didn't say anything about jobs. They're not transparent. They're not speaking for us. They're speaking for them and their pockets. So, like I said, I'm just coming to you as a resident of the West End and a child that's seen, housing ripped apart from people. I grew up in Parktown, so that's a different, it's a neighborhood inside of the West End. So I didn't have to really deal with too much of Laura Holmes and Lincoln Courts, but my friends did. And when I look at you in your eyes, like I said, I just want to see y'all and make sure, hear it in my voice that, I really care about the West End. And God rest his soul, Chris Nims really cared about the West End. What would he think about it? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Following Ms. Prather, Michelle Dillingham, and then we have a letter, and then following the letter will be Julie Sellers. Thank you, Ms. Prather.
Good afternoon, Madam President, to the board members. Thank you all so much for allowing me to speak. I am Kelly Prather, a taxpaying citizen, Vice Chair of Supersedes Alternative Discipline Program, which has a partnership with CPS, as well as the President of You Always Count Ministries. I am here today to urge you to vote against FC Cincinnati relocating or building at Stargill Stadium. I'm a proud product of the Cincinnati Public School System. system. And although I did not graduate from Taft High School, throughout the years, many of my nieces and nephews, and I have about 150, graduated from Taft High School, and some of them are still currently enrolled. Taft High School and Stargell Stadium serves so many purposes to so many people. Local religious institutions utilize Taft School for social events, for repast services for lost loved ones after they bury them, especially if they cannot afford to rent other places. The Little Senators, the local Little League football team, also utilized Taft Stadium for football games, for football practices, and their award ceremony, which I attended a couple weeks ago. Taft Stadium, again, Taft and Stargell Stadium serves as a safe place and a safe haven where community members can engage in healthy outlets, and we don't have many of those. The West End is an extremely vulnerable community. It's plagued by violence, and I don't live in the West End. I have family members who live in the West End, and I'm constantly engaging with the community. The one thing I heard Lincoln Ware say is that Jeff Birding, who is an intricate part of FC Cincinnati, refuses to even call in to speak to him. And so I'm concerned that he won't even meet with the community. I've never seen him in that community, and I'm in that community daily. One of my concerns over the years have been the public-private relationships and the alignments and the alliances that local elected officials have with the business community. When you think about the excessive campaign contributions and the impact that it has on the community, it's alarming. We trusted the school board members, and I have faith in the school board members. Chris Nims was one of my favorite people. Mr. Timmons, you're one of my favorite people, and Eric, I grew up with you. We trusted you to do a job for the community, and I am urging you to put your pupils over profit. By voting yes and allowing FC Cincinnati to build it at Stargell Stadium, you'll be sending a loud and clear message about how you really feel about the community, especially the school. And so, again, I think several people alluded to the fact that this is just a continuation of gentrification in the West End. When you allow FC Cincinnati to build a Stargell Stadium, you're not only losing the school, you're losing religious institutions. One of the gentlemen mentioned Revelation Baptist Church, but you also have the Kingdom Hall of Jehovah's Witnesses that is right behind Stargell Stadium. You have Lincoln Courts, you have one of the local small businesses, only Black-owned restaurants, Just Cooking, right adjacent to that. We have Queensgate facility, which is close. So prior to voting, I urge you to just think about the collateral damage. Put pupils before profit. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Ellingham?
Good afternoon, Michelle Dillingham, parent of a CPS grad and member of the Cincinnati Educational Justice Coalition. We have many concerns, but I'm going to highlight one in particular. There's a deal called the Tax Exemption Agreement. It's been in place in Cincinnati, Ohio since 1999. It allows Cincinnati City Council to offer tax abatements on future property taxes to developers instead of going to our public schools. Developers only pay 25% of the increased value in property taxes, and the city is supposed to make whole the school district for the remaining 75% of taxes on the increased value that would have been collected. The CEJC maintains that the school district has not been made whole for several years, meaning our schools have been losing out on millions of dollars in funding while developers have made millions in profit. As the Board of Ed enters into negotiations with FC Cincinnati, we demand the following: that the CPS Board of Education ensure our students and schools get their fair share of property taxes as the FC Cincinnati soccer stadium deal is negotiated. Our schools were made promises of funding from stadiums before, and those promises have been broken. 2, the CPS Board of Education should provide open, transparent public meetings and provide opportunities for public input on any deals they plan to make with FC Cincinnati. Our parents, neighbors, and stakeholders to our schools and the neighborhoods in which they live deserve to be a part of this decision-making process. So our concern is specifically around the fact that a lot of times in these stadium deals, one of the things to sweeten the deal is to give tax abatements. needs. Property taxes is what, in large part, funds our public schools. And so as these developers come in and make promises about new restaurants and retail and apartments, the question is, it should be first and foremost on your minds, what is the district going to lose in future property taxes with this deal? Does the new stadium mean, and I don't care where it's put, the question is, what is the school district going to lose in funding? Because our students should not be made second to wealthy developers looking to make a profit. Yes, pupils over profits. We look to you, our representatives. You are here to represent our children in our schools and make sure they are getting a fair shake and not represent business interests looking for a profit. Thank you on behalf of the Cincinnati Educational Justice Coalition. I also want to say I'm a member of the NAACP Education Committee who shares similar concerns. Thank you.
We have, this is a little bit, at least for me, out of the standard practice. We did have a lady, her name is Mary Burke Rivers, who submitted a letter because she could not attend. So I would like to read that, and Ms. Sellers will follow. Dear board members, as our community of Cincinnati works toward the goal of moving families out of poverty, a unique opportunity is coming before you with the request of FC Cincinnati for land owned by our public school system. I don't know if building a new stadium at sites in the West End neighborhood of Cincinnati is ultimately a good idea, but as you consider the pros and cons of the transfer of public assets, please keep in mind the following. Number one, any just decision on selling or transferring a public asset requires a public engagement process. Please make that a requirement of any action that you take regarding transfer of land to a private entity. 2, require an enforceable community benefits agreement with any entity that may assume or acquire publicly owned land. A CBA is a tool that will intentionally and with recourse require that the benefits of both public and private investment have meaningful benefits that will reach beyond traditional beneficiaries into our communities, providing opportunities for employment, accessible amenities, housing, and recreation. A CBA addresses the inequitable outcomes that often result from large-scale investments. Many in our community who seek to address childhood poverty recognize that equitable development policies are necessary if we are to see a reduction in poverty in our lifetime. 3, you have a real opportunity to make a real difference. It isn't often that we find ourselves in a position of power. Please recognize what you have and use your power wisely to the direct benefit of your public school constituents. I hope to attend the board meeting today, but my schedule may not allow. Please accept this brief letter as my comments. So that's submitted by Mary Burke Rivers, Over the Rhine Community Housing. So our final speaker is Julie Sellers, and because Julie is our president of our union, Cincinnati Federation of Teachers, and Julie is not held to the 3-minute time limit. However,
I will stay under that today.
I would ask. Thank you, Julie.
So good afternoon, Superintendent Mitchell, Treasurer Wagner, and members of the board. First, I would like to thank you for moving this meeting today into this venue in order to help with public transparency, so it's been recorded and there will be a recording of this meeting. I think that that is very important as we move through this process, and because it will require a strong public engagement process wherever the stadium is built, if it's in the West End or Oakley or any other location in Cincinnati. If it's involving with CPS property or taxes that are will be owed to CPS, I think that it needs to be a strong engagement process. I am here to request that the district move forward in a transparent manner and ask the district to stand strong in any negotiations you enter with FC Cincinnati. CFT CFOP wants to make sure that CPS in the city holds strong that FC Cincinnati pays their fair share of property taxes to CPS and does no financial harm to the district. I have probably volunteered on more levies than anyone else in this room, and it worries me if we go into any agreement that puts any of our future levies at risk. It is the board's responsibility to leverage future levies and make sure that the district remains financially stable. And I don't want any type of harm done to any community that turns that community against CPS. One, that they're giving away tax breaks to billionaires, and two, that we're not getting our fair share of taxes. With those multiple properties last night that were turned over from Cincinnati Metropolitan Housing, those were all properties that pay taxes to CPS. If everything in this city is given away, pretty soon the minority will be funding everything, and it is putting taxes too high, and it will risk our future levies. So thank you.
Thank you.
I also wanted to say, I wanted to thank Roberts for providing a safe environment for all of their community. Just this week, there was a big national report that NPR had out that you can look at, but nationally, there are almost 9,000 DACA teachers who face a very uncertain future, and I would like to thank you, make sure that this district has a policy that they won't be targeting our DACA teachers in any future decisions that could be impacting them. But I also want to thank you for supporting the ESL teachers by continuing to provide the necessary resources for all of our students to be successful in our district. Thank you.
Thank you. So as we move into the next agenda item, I wasn't planning on doing this, but I think just because there are some themes that I think we're all hearing, and in this full board discussion, you may get the public may get some of your questions answered just in this conversation. So first, let me say, we just recently received a letter from Mr. Birding just asking us to sit down at the table and have a conversation. I can tell you that there's been no agreements, no deals. As a matter of fact, this board at this meeting in this particular agenda item coming up is the first time that we've had an opportunity to sit down as a full board to even address the letter. And he's not asked us for anything. He made us aware that that they were interested and that at some point wanted to talk with us. So I just wanted to be clear. I think that was your question. Transparency and engagement. This board has made a full commitment to have public conversations and to do a robust community engagement approach. We hear you. We recognize that this is a very sensitive topic. There's a lot of legacy in this community, and we certainly have at the interest of our students, our district, and our community at hand. So what we will discuss at this time is how will we approach FC Cincinnati. And I think our board members, what you will hear is honesty, questions they may have, and even ideas about next steps. That's what we're hoping to get out of this conversation. So we appreciate your comments. You can be assured that we fully intend to be transparent. At the same time, we have to be very honest with you. We want to engage the public, and I know that FC Cincinnati has hired a firm to work with them on community engagement. But I want the public to know, and I think all my board members would agree with that, there are times when this board has to meet privately, because legally, we have legal mandates that say there are certain things you have to talk about in private. But I can assure you that there's always a way to connect with the community and make sure that you are fully informed and represented in these discussions. So having said that, we'll move into our FC Cincinnati discussion, and I am going to open the floor for discussion. I don't know who came first, Mr. Messer.
I want to first say thank you to those individuals who came to speak today. Having done that myself several years back on a topic as my first interaction with the school board, I want you to know that I've been in your shoes and I hear you, and took copious notes here. So today is, and frankly the past week since we got that letter, was just a gentle reminder that we have some work to do to earn your trust. And I heard over the past year, through countless conversations, the desire for open and transparent decision-making from the leaders of CPS. The letter you saw that I got that evening was that's the only thing that I have received or have been a part of any negotiation about any particular relationship with FCC. I only learned that there is the possibility of Stargell Stadium being specifically called out in an online article the next day. So that was news to me, something I have yet to see, yet to receive from anyone. But I do want to thank CMHA, because if they did one thing for us, they told us exactly how you don't make decisions. And so I was frustrated after I heard what happened, and frankly wish I might have been there. But I thought, you know, this is going to be a different approach, at least from my perspective. But from the 3 weeks maybe since I've been sworn in, I can assure you, we set up rules of engagement, and if you had attended our retreat, I think you would have seen a unanimous vote that we are going to operate in new and different ways with a focus on transparency and public engagement as important decisions are made. And that, again, I realize is something that we have to earn your trust on. But personally, you have my full and total commitment that in any decision that I make personally, in any conversations that I have with the board, that I will act according to that expectation. And so, lastly, as a former community council president, and having been mentored by several people sitting around the room here today, I also understand that I believe there is a conversation that needs to happen long before it even gets to the school board, because we've yet to even decide if West End wants a stadium in their neighborhood. And I think that conversation is crucial and something that we collectively agree has to happen before any specific site would be addressed. So I thank you all for being here in the middle of the day, as we have a variety of times to ensure that people with different schedules can attend different meetings. But I know in the middle of the day may be difficult for some, and I thank you for being here, and you have my commitment that as this process goes forward and at such time that CPS is engaged, it will be in a clear, transparent, and open way.
I just want to comment, Mr. Morosky, you're next, and Ms. Bates. In the interest of time, and I know people actually want to make personal comments, and I appreciate that, but if we want to, and anybody can do that, but at some point we really do need to have the discussion about how we're going to approach this. So let's, Mr. Morosky, you're first, and Ms. Bates, you go next. Okay.
Thank you, President Jones, and thanks to everybody for being here. Democracy is a two-way street, and our street is packed today, and that's awesome. So thanks so much for offering your 2 cents. For me, the kids matter the most, and the surrounding community. And so I believe I was elected to govern from a kid-focused perspective, and that's what I intend to do. And regarding FCC, to Mr. Messer's point, the letter that everybody's seen is the most we've gotten to. So moving forward with FCC, as somebody who was on the drop-in center board years ago and worked with Restock and Ms. Burkett over there on community housing, I know that community members are often left out of conversations. And so I would like to propose that in our response, and President Jones has already responded in case folks haven't seen, acknowledging we did receive the letter, I would like to ask that FC Cincinnati engage the community. I would like to be a part of it. I don't speak for the whole board. I think everybody else does too. I would like to be a part of those processes. I heard a lot of really great things today with which I align, but again, nothing's been proposed to us. When something is actually proposed to us, to Mr. Messer's point, seeing the map with the stadium like the next day, an online article, nothing, that hasn't been proposed. If something like that does come down the line, CBAs are very interesting to me. Making sure that we recoup all dollars, if any dollars are abated as incentives, that we recoup all dollars needs to be a priority for us, President Jones. That's another thing I'd like to say. And then lastly, I'll end where I began, that we ensure in discussions with FC Cincinnati that there's not only no adverse effect on kids, but that our kids actually get more. Again, if these conversations progress.
Yes. Ms. Bates.
Yes, okay, so I'll assume my role on the board as the one with the institutional knowledge. And even though there had been a lot of talk recently of lack of engagement and lack of transparency, I want to remind... Okay.
Okay, we're all in shock, like, what was that?
Of the way we conducted our community engagement around the facilities master plan. And we engaged each and every community. I won't say that we did it perfectly. We made mistakes, but we certainly worked with the community as best as we can. We had major changes in the way we renovated Rothenburg. We listened to the community. Major changes in our site selection for Carson Elementary. A big one was our first one, Riverview East Academy, because the community wanted to go back to its roots of the river. You know, we had made changes and big changes to our minority inclusion program. All of this was due to listening to the community. So we do have a history of strong public engagement around facilities improvement. And, you know, we can learn our lessons from other organizations in this city, but I believe this board can take the lessons we learned from that experience, not rewrite the book, but use those experiences to guide us in the way we conduct ourselves with the community, because I believe that we're pretty experienced with dealing with the community and you know, facilities improvement. So that's what I would like to put before the board instead of reinventing the wheel.
Thank you. Ms. Copeland Dansby and then Mr. Timmons.
So we have a lot to talk about. First, I do want to thank our community for coming before us today, and I'm going to look forward to seeing you more and more because I need you to be here. So for those of you who do not know, I'm wearing my Taft green today, by the way. I was born and raised in the West End on Dayton Street. I'm so proud of that legacy. And my parents and family members are graduates of Heberly, Sands, Bloom, and Taft. And so I understand and know how important of a gem the West End is, as well as our institutions that sit in that particular community. So the way that I govern is from a position of thankfulness, first and foremost, that the community trust me to sit here to make the decisions that are the best for the entire community. So I pledge to do that, and I think, as Mr. Messer said, and everyone has said, you have a unanimous decision between the seven of us, or of the seven of us, to do engagement that's intentional, that's open, that's public, that's inclusive. And so what that looks like, we don't know, because quite honestly, we don't even know what we're being asked to do. And we have lots and lots of rules. You know, we can't just give up property. Like, whoever thinks that we could just turn over property, that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen like that. So as we continue down this path, and I'm going to make a couple assignments at the end of this particular meeting. As we move down this path, I need the community to participate, to be informed, to pay attention, and to be involved and engaged. The other thing is we do have some best practices, as Ms. Bates mentioned, that can steer some of this. We don't have to rewrite a book. We well before my time sitting here, you know, as a district have gotten a lot right. And so I'm gonna move that we continue to work in that way. Stargell doesn't belong to us. Stargell belongs to the community. It isn't something that we just can arbitrarily make decisions about. We have to do community engagement. So to be clear, we haven't been asked to do absolutely anything. We're still trying to figure it out. And then number two, we have to do that collectively with the community. And number three, we have to always look for opportunity for our kids. And so what that means, I don't particularly know. So thank you for being here today. And again, I will have a couple assignments at the end of this meeting.
Okay. Mr. Timmons.
Yes, I'm a Cincinnati graduate, went to Woodward High School, but I taught at Bloom Junior High School back from 77 to 80. So I understand how people from the West End feel. And also I took Chris Neum's spot, who is a Taft graduate, and also I said I want to continue to do the work that he was doing. But just talking to a number of people out in the community, mostly I'm talking about the West End, a number of them would like to see some changes made. I mean, I hear other people saying from the Taft graduates, and they don't want to see Taft tore down. That's fine, I understand that. But when I hear the flip side of it, okay, what they talking about is a lot of old buildings down there that's not being used, they're just in the way. Those need to be uprooted. But on the other side of that too, I don't want to see people inconvenienced, okay? I don't want to see them lose what they've been working so hard for and what they put time in. And I just think that's real important that we look at the human side of it, like I heard a gentleman say earlier today, and which we are doing too. And also, we didn't know exactly where we were going or what we were doing with it. So just saying that I don't want to see any changes made if it's going to hurt the people. That's the main thing. And also our kids too. You know, that's, like I said, the kids got to be the bullseye in this whole process.
Ms. Bolton.
Thank you very much. I think we are united in wanting to conduct the public business in public, and we are doing that today. And I think it's good that FCC reached out to us with this sort of nondescript letter to at least start some sort of public dialogue since that letter was released publicly. I think it's important for us to avoid, at all costs, third parties negotiating on behalf of either CPS or FC. This needs to be direct information sharing, and it needs to happen as best it can within the public purview. I also don't think we should be necessarily creating a list of what we want to see because it begins to lead us to the belief that we've decided that there's something to talk about. We haven't figured out if there's something to really talk about because we don't know of what they're asking of us. So I think it's difficult that way. I also know that it is very hard to rebuild trust, and I know that when we built wonderful, beautiful Taft High School and the stadium, and by the way, that stadium serves 6 of our schools, not just Taft. It was one of the several, what they called centers of excellence, because we financially could not ask the public to pay for a stadium at every one of our high schools. So around our district, which is far larger than the city, there are those centers. And Stargell is one of those centers of excellence that was built. And so a lot of members of not only the West End community and Taft, but other high schools as well use it, and it's critically important. My point would be that we would like, I think, to be able to have more information about what is really being requested. We also don't want to be the last body that is engaged in any of this after all the other little pieces of this puzzle have been put together either in front of the public or behind closed doors. And at the end, they come to Cincinnati Public when all the stars have aligned, and then they tell us this is what they really need us to do, because it'll all fall apart if we don't do it. So there is an important part of being a part of the parallel efforts that are going on right now. And I know nobody on this board will make a decision that is bad for the district or the children or our schools, because we are the only people within anywhere that's responsible for that. This is not city council, it's not the county government. Our only responsibility is to the district and the children. And there was a school board before there was a city council or before there was ever a county commission. And its mission has been there since 1787, and that is protecting the children and the families that attend public schools. And now it's been expanded, frankly, legally, to all children and all families attending school, be it public, private, charter, or us ourselves. So we have to rebuild the idea that we will only have that in mind, and that none of us individually have any power. Again, this is not city council. The board is an entity unto itself. Only the board can act in association with itself. And so round robin for school board is illegal, meaning you're not supposed to go from board member to board member to influence them. It's different than necessarily city council rules and regulations. And once the board decides, it doesn't make any difference what your opinion's going to be, because you must stand with the decision of the corporate structure, the school board itself. So I think we have a great opportunity to make this be as public as possible.
Yes.
And insist on being involved from the get-go in whatever is being planned. And I'm also interested to know how it impacts Oakley, because that's also one of our neighborhoods. So to Mr. Morosky's point, my proposal would be that we can continue a dialogue, but we need information.
Yes. Just to add to that, I think, I agree that the first step in this is to really find out from them what they're asking of us. And so maybe in assignments, somebody could assign a task. Maybe we reach out by letter or phone call, however.
I'd be happy to.
Oh, okay. So one of the things that we also have to consider in this conversation is timeline. And what does that do? Because my understanding is that MLS, the national MLS, will be making a decision sometime the end of this month, which is like today, into the beginning of February, and that things are going to happen at a really fast pace. So I think for this board, what that means is we have to move at a fast pace as well. And so with all of the other conversations and ideas that we have in here, we know just based on this conversation, we need to ask what it is they want. We need to work with making sure that we have our rules of engagement and make sure that we have a plan for how we do community engagement, and Ms. Bates' idea and Ms. Copeland's idea of not recreating the wheel, but to implement a best practice and move forward. Then the other idea on the table would be to invite Mr. Birding and his team to come to a public forum where we can engage with the public and have questions. He can present to us their ideas, and the public can interact with him and ask questions of their team. And then finally, we know they've hired an engagement, a team to engage, a company to engage. So what's our role with them? So these are all questions that I think factor into our discussion. This is not the time. This is a board conversation, and we're happy. Yes, I know. We will have plenty of time to do that kind of engagement. I appreciate that. Okay. Ms. Bolton?
On the engagement piece, I totally agree that they need to make a public proposal to us so that we can ask questions, be that a public board meeting or a fact-finding, which is another way of us addressing issues that we need to learn more about, and it is public and open to the public. I want to make sure that we do our own engagement and they do their own engagement. If we do mutual engagement, it will look as though we've already joined the team, and I think that would probably be inappropriate. But I think we do need to be able to do that separately for the same purpose of making sure we know. And again, I will recall many years ago when we built Taft High School, Shirley Colbert, representing the West End Community Council, coming in public meeting and making us sign an oath that, by God, that building was going to be built. And she wasn't leaving the room until that was signed, and we said it publicly. So we understand the importance of that school to that community.
Ms. Bates?
Yes, and from what I was hearing and from what, I already know about these kinds of deals, there are two issues at hand, and one is the site of the, and that certainly, it's obvious we're going to be doing engagement around that. But the other piece is ensuring that, whatever abatements or TIFs or anything that's offered to the developers of this stadium, that we hold fast that we will be made whole, period, end of story. And that may be to me, it seems like it's two separate engagement efforts. One publicly with the community to ensure that, the site, whether it changes or not, that discussion is properly engaged, but the other to engage the public entities around our tax situation, because what we don't want is to, and one of the speakers, I think it was Ms. Dillingham, was correct in saying that, we're not being made whole. Well, that's really a fault of the states, because we cut a deal with the county and the city regarding the other two stadiums, and the state was to make us whole. From what I know it's more complicated than that, but to make a long story short, then the rules changed, the law changed, and then we were left out in the cold. But the city really didn't understand that change, so that's what happened. This would have to be a little more ironclad, and we would have to work with our city, county, and state officials to make sure that Cincinnati Public doesn't have to run another levy, because of this situation, which really, that's what we've been doing with the abatements and with charter schools. We've had to run a levy for new money to make up, and the state cutbacks to make up the difference. And we want to put an end to that as much as we can under our control.
Mr. Morosky, followed by Mr. Messer.
So on second, Ms. Bolton was saying about having engagement happen perhaps in tandem, but definitely we need to do our own engagement first. So I just want to second that quickly. Then secondly, I also don't want to put the cart before the horse. I think it was Ms. Bates or Ms. Bolton, I think it was you, Ms. Bates, made the comment, like, we don't have a horse or a cart. We haven't been given anything. So, I mean, if we're talking about step one, I think step one, we need to figure out what the cart is. I don't know if I'm mixing my analogies, but we need to figure out what they're asking. So in the letter, it says, it references a partnership. So I think a logical and pragmatic next step would be to say, okay, Mr. Birding and team, come explain what you mean by that. And to your point too, President Jones, that would probably need to happen sooner than later.
Okay.
As step one, and then we can, I think we've made it pretty clear, and it makes me really happy to be part of a unitary body like this that's all on the same page about it, bringing the public in, so.
Messer.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add, and I think your opening comments are spot on, and I fully agree with each comment after that in this particular section. But Ms. Bates kind of took the words out of my mouth, that I think there is the issue of if there's a proposal of the stadium, does it belong in the West End? And if the West End does affect us, that's this path. I think the whole abatement issue is something that is critically important. It's a much bigger issue. It is a threat to public education, frankly, and it's something that, as finance chair, I would love that to be a conversation at our next meeting. We briefly touched on it at our last finance meeting, but something that I think we could take up at the Finance Committee and begin to dig in there and report back to the public.
Okay, Ms. Copeland Dansby?
So the thing that I will add, and we can wrap all these things up in some nice, neat, tidy boxes when we get to assignments, but we have to ensure that this conversation happens with the full board and not get divided and separated into committee, because I think that further confuses the community and that doesn't give an opportunity for full engagement. So when I talk about engagement, I mean intentional, you know, special meetings if they have to be, or, you know, I'm gonna call for some information related to how the facilities master plans engagement took place, but, you know, outside of this room even. And I think the public should know, and I heard someone say it earlier today, we didn't always have this meeting on a Wednesday in this space. I urged the district to move forward with having our Wednesday meetings here, and it is live streamed. So you might see these cameras and that kind of thing. So you can go back to livestream.com and look at every board meeting, I wanna say from 2015 or 16, something crazy like that. So, you know, again, to continue the conversation and then urging our public to really pay attention to how we're moving forward.
Ms. Bolton?
Yeah, just to piggyback on Mr. Messer's view and Mrs. Bates particularly, those 2 points that she raised as to it's about this particular issue as well as being made whole. We know that our treasurer in the last 3 years has put together a study that shows that we have not been made whole financially. And so we've been on top of that throughout Finance Committee and whole board efforts. So we know that, we've got those statistics. And then we also know that a lot of this advocacy that we're hearing today, and we'll hear further down the line, we know that we are, and I think Ms. Dillingham mentioned it, we are at the end of that negotiated settlement regarding the tax abatements. So often the city is the big monster, if you will, about being able to negotiate, and then we come in from a weakened position. We need the community to stand with us during those negotiations when we do it for the next several years so that we are made whole. But this has been a preoccupation in the previous superintendent and this current superintendent, and certainly our treasurer. So we have the money numbers, and we know we want economic development, but we are not going to be the little, the weak party in this one if the community stands with us and our children.
Just one other comment, I think also as we're thinking about how we assign this work, what we want in our assignments, we also have to think about what can we offer. So we know that we have the best practice model for engaging. There might be some budgetary and finance kinds of concerns as we move further into the discussions, like costs of, existing costs and that kind of thing, and thinking about the economic impact of that. So there's lots of things I think we need to work out. So what I'm hearing, first of all, is that we are we have to be a united board on this. So our messages need to be united and clear. It must involve public and engagement, which Mrs. Copeland Dansby is saying intentional, which I agree with. So if there's not any more kind of open discussion, then our next step would be when we get to the agenda item on assignments, if people can start thinking about what assignments do we need and how we get the work done. So to the public, we do appreciate the comments, and I think we were all listening very intently, as we will continue to do through this process and beyond. I hope that we've answered just a few of your questions. Again, timeline is critical, so I imagine, if you check the website, you can see our schedule on there, and if we schedule meetings in between there or out in the community, you will certainly be notified in enough time. And you have our word that we would do the best that we can do to represent the district and the community in this very sensitive issue. So Is there any other discussion? And then we can move on. Okay. Thank you again. Superintendent Mitchell, do you have a report?
Yes, I do. I have just a few items to report. So at the end of the business day yesterday, Cincinnati Public Schools had 78 ECOT students enroll in our digital academy. We are hosting a series of 6 orientation for parents who may be interested in this option. In addition, we are continuing our Lunch and Learn series last month. Actually, this month we started with our first one around managing stress on the job. And this coming Friday on the 2nd at 12:30 is our second Lunch and Learn, and it is centered around open hearts, building a culture of acceptance and support for transgender youth. You also might be interested to know that last week was for CPS Public Education Week, and really want to thank Principal Kathy Wright and all of the students at Hughes for hosting an event at their site. It was very well attended by our board president, our vice president for the board, as well as county commissioner, council member, and state board member as well. So we're very excited and very happy to be able to host that within our district. And last, I'd like to say that Cincinnati Public Schools received the PEEP Award, which is Public Education Partners for their wraparound services and community learning centers. So this is an award that the district received as a result of all the good, outstanding work that we've done in this area. We actually serve as a model for the country. And that is my report.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the recommendations of the superintendent?
So move.
Second?
Second.
Ms. Wagner, please call the roll.
Bates?
Aye.
Ms. Bolton?
Aye.
Mrs. Copeland Dansby?
Aye.
Mr. Messer? Mr. Morosky? Mr. Timmons?
Aye.
President Jones?
Aye. Do I have a motion to approve the report of the treasurer?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Wagner, please call the roll.
Mrs. Bates? Aye. Ms. Bolton?
Aye.
Mrs. Copeland Dansby?
Aye.
Mr. Messer? Mr. Morosky?
Aye.
Mr. Timmons?
Aye.
President Jones?
Aye. All righty, assignments.
Are we going to do ACEs?
That's in inquiries and updates.
Or assignments, so.
Well, I'm just going by my script. So I'll be happy to switch. If we can do, I'm just saying, that's not on my script. But anyway, we can do inquiries and updates first.
Is that?
I'm sorry?
Is that ACEs?
Inquiries and updates. Well, I have a few, if we want to just go down the line. I have a couple. The ACEs meeting, and this is a meeting that we do quarterly with City Council's committee on, what's the name? It's PG Sittenfeld's committee. Yes. It looks like we have a quorum on February 27th at 2 p.m. So what we need, because this is our meeting, we need to, if we want to do it in another location, we need to decide what location, and we need to finalize the agenda. We do have some agenda items that carried over from the last meeting, and I'd be happy to just kind of remind people, send something to remind people of what that is, but so we will need to get that agenda prepared. Yes?
I would encourage one of the agenda items be transportation as it relates to the late start dialogue. I know that committee's been doing some major public hearings on Metro and transportation itself, so I would encourage that be on the agenda.
I think it is.
Thank you.
Any other agenda items for ACES? February 27th?
FC Cincinnati.
FC, okay. All righty. Any others? And if you think about it, if you just let us know, we'll do that. Any idea or suggestions around a site, or do we want to keep it here for the time being? Mr. Messer?
Possibly have it at Taft.
Okay. Now, can I just mention this, and maybe Superintendent Mitchell can help us with this? I know, sorry. You know, my question is, how disruptive would that be to the school in sort of at that time of day? Is it?
Yeah, so during the school day can be a challenge because we do encourage our schools, our kids to be able to have access to the entire building. And so, I mean, it's something that we could definitely look into, but we try not to go into our schools when our kids are there to take over any space that they may have access to.
Okay, well, did you have a comment, Ms. Copeland?
I would definitely agree. I think we're talking about a committee, and for ease of use, I would suggest that we meet either here in this space or in room 1A. I think the more simplistic, the better.
Ms. Bates?
Why don't we do Rawson and then have food service cater in school food?
Rawson is a possibility, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Would folks be okay with that?
Sure.
Okay.
As long as I have some place to park.
Yes. I saw Ms. Worley's hand.
Bearing in mind, they need to have public access to it with video option.
Correct.
Okay, so that wouldn't be possible.
It's not possible there?
It can be, I just want you to keep that.
Okay.
I think there are cost implications whenever you're moving video and that kind of thing that I would not suggest for a committee meeting.
Okay. So the other option would be to do it here for the time being, and then we can have more conversation about whether or not we want to move this meeting. And we're not talking about every single ACES meeting that we facilitate, but maybe periodically meet in the community, and then we'll have time to prepare for that. Would that be okay? We just do it here, and then work on the next meeting, February, March, April, May, which would be May. No, it would be them for that time. Ms. Bates?
We could do that, but we've done it when we went to Bond Hill, and we've done it when we've been to Spencer, so.
In the middle of the day? In the day?
No. What difference does it make at Rawson? There's no children at Rawson. Just saying, we've done it before and it wasn't.
We can ask administration just to see what the possibility is for Rawson.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Assignment. Okay. Okay, thanks. Okay. March 12th, we have scheduled on our 2018 calendars a meeting, regular board meeting at a school site. We have two suggestions. One was Walnut and the other was a school on the west side. So I think this is just a update. We don't have to decide that now. I think we need to, though, just think about what that option might be, and we can have some discussion and decide on that. Unless people are you ready? Well, let's think about it. How about let's think about it first?
Think about
a school site, recommendations for a school site at our next meeting.
And Jones, might I just make a suggestion to look at one of the Vision 2020 schools on the west side of town? Westwood might be an option. Just a thought to consider.
Okay, great.
Superintendent doesn't mention that she was the principal at Westwood, so there's a little bit of loyalty there.
Forgot about that.
All righty, thank you. Any other inquiries or updates?
I have an inquiry about the March retreat date. Do we know what that date is?
I don't know it off the top of my head.
Is there a retreat in the month of March?
I believe it is. Ms. Bolton?
I saw it on one calendar but not the other.
We need to verify that, so do you mind? That's an assignment? We'll do an assignment, okay.
And so my other question related to that March retreat date is who's responsible for the content of the retreat? Is that the unknown strategic committee or the leadership?
Leadership.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, I need to get an understanding related to the date, because if it's a weekend date, I'm unavailable the entire month of March.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to get ahead of the schedule.
How about if you and I get together on that, and just have a conversation
And make
can
sure other
report.
folks know if there's a date.
Right, and we'll report back to full board on that. Okay. Other inquiries and updates? Okay. Assignments? Yes, Mr. Morosky.
I would like to make an assignment to administration for a report to student achievement regarding mental health procedures in the schools, the different providers that we have. A lot of this would be, quite frankly, for our own edification. It's on our work plan. When we met last time, Chair Bolton gave us a list and went through the mental health pieces of like great importance, obviously. And then also, if there are any, if there is, what is it? Training for faculty and staff outside like their college education, like what do we provide already? Is that
I want to be clear, training for whom? The staff?
for
at the
staff,
schools?
faculty,
Okay.
staff, everybody, maintenance, cafeteria, teachers, everybody, because obviously it's an issue that impacts all the children and the adults. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we can definitely do that. I will say that today is the day that every single staff person had to have completed 10 online courses, and many of those things deal with mental health. So, but we
Well,
can
that was
definitely give you an update
approved,
for
yeah.
SAC.
Yes,
Awesome. Thanks, Superintendent.
great. Who's next?
Ms. Bates?
Ms. Bates.
Okay, I have a few, and one is new board member onboarding. We had discussed that, and this will be training. This won't be board meeting or board business discussions, so this will not necessitate calling a meeting, but at the convenience of the board members that they meet with those committee chairs for finance, for student achievement policy, possibly ad hoc, because you did all the protocol to make sure that they understand what we do, what a work plan is, just some real basic 10 or 15 minute update on the work of the committee.
Yes, okay.
And the other is, and this has been my mantra for many years, that we use SharePoint more, so we don't have to use reams and reams of paper. I believe that, do all the board members have computer access, either through their own or through the board? We all have computers, don't we?
And I believe in individualized learning and meeting the student where the student is. So this student wants hard copy, and I know my classmate over here wants hard copy, but beyond that, y'all can fend for yourself if you want to do that electronic stuff, but I like that hard copy. But I appreciate Ms. Bates trying to get me into the 21st century, but it's not happening.
Well, I'm even going to take it a little deeper.
Oh, Lord.
That we also train everybody on board docs. And then you can get your paper copies, but those of us who, I leave this here. I don't want to bring this back to my condo. I'm good using my.
Don't give it to her.
Yeah, don't give
Okay.
it. Okay, so board docs.
Board docs training, and then also an onboarding training regarding the work of the committees.
Right.
Okay.
And then I have a third one concerning, actually, we began the conversation discussing the abatements that could occur around FC, but we've had broader conversations in finance regarding abatements, because we have many of them, right? Many TIFs and abatements. But I would make the assignment that we begin educating our governmental relations consultants, Kearney and Cahall, regarding this issue. And that way they'll be prepared when we need to use them in our negotiations with FC Cincinnati, but they will be prepared, get the big picture and understand what's going on, so they can assist us as this comes up, either at the local or state level. And that would be assigned to the treasurer.
Okay, thank you.
Reporting back to finance. on the broader issue.
I was
not-
going to ask about that.
Yeah.
Since they work directly with Finance Committee.
Right.
Okay. All right, Mr. Messer, you have to leave, so.
Thank you. I just have to get to a 2:00 work meeting. And this being my first assignment section of a meeting,
We'll take a picture for you.
yeah, exactly. Well, I don't even know if they're legitimate assignments, but I think that I fully agree with the discussion that we have to begin parallel path in the discussion with FC Cincinnati, and that we have a model that we can, I'm all about benchmarking and don't recreate the wheel. My guess is we would probably have to hire a partner to help us do that engagement work, perhaps, or we perhaps could use that as one model where you have somebody who has expertise in these exact types of situations. So the question is, I'm not sure who would go look for that. I know that there were some that we had for issues as Over the Rhine was having challenges with maybe some hostile takeover of property or sections of the neighborhood. And they brought people who did specific engagement work in the urban setting that were able to get outside of the box and actually get in front of people and have real conversations and meet them where they are. So perhaps we could begin looking to see if that might be an option for us. And then the second is, I think just in preparation for then any future conversations on this whole abatement issue, as it's been brought up multiple times here today. And this is not necessarily about just FC Cincinnati, it's this whole question about being made whole. Maybe we could set up some specific training for the new board members so we can get caught up with what has been done to date in that study. I love, of course you are ahead of that and have done the work to get us ahead of that so that we can carry that work forward, because I think that's going to become a topic of public conversation as the year increases. It's gonna get significantly louder.
Is that the question that you had or the comment you made a little earlier about looking at the parity and pay? Okay.
Kind of the whole picture,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, Ms. Bolton, I'm assuming people are going to get to the FCC, just some real specific assignments around that. Is that where you're going? Okay. Thank you.
Yes, I would like to assign to the administration, to the superintendent, to schedule a date and place, preferably Taft High School, for a community engagement effort within the next 15 or certainly not more than 20 days, and hopefully sooner, where we can have an open meeting and invite the community and other stakeholders as well to appear and help inform us and have input into what we're thinking about. And I would also say that I would like to assign to the president of the board a letter to Mr. Birding and the FC folks to say that we've had this conversation, we're going to have our own community engagement, but we also are awaiting their proposal.
Mr. Morosky?
So I want to piggyback on the assignment, and of course I support the assignment from Board Member Bolton. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I guess my question, before I make an assignment on top of an assignment, I guess my question is, your specific request is for the administration to set up a community engagement public meeting to have I'm trying to understand the objective.
Well, the administration to choose a date and preferably a place, which would be Taft High School itself, where we could announce that the board is receiving input and concerns and issues from the public.
Okay.
And that at that time or in that preparation, the administration can advise us as to whether or not it can be something done in-house, or if we have other partners that could lead that for us, they could advise us if there's the necessary.
Okay, good. So I want to take that same assignment and kind of flush it out a little bit or add some suggestions to that. I love the idea of having that meeting. I would like for us in preparation or all simultaneous to this to understand some of the work that had been done, like during the facilities master plan engagement time, like what did that look like? as well as pairing with some of the processes that we used in asking the community for important traits in hiring the superintendent. We unleashed a survey process where we asked folks what traits were. I mean, of course, it's not what's a trait at a good stadium, but it's something. I don't know what it is, but I would ask Ms. Worley to help us figure out how we target that. So I don't know if part of the conversation in that meeting is the unveiling or launching of some formalized process, or do we try to do that ahead of time? I don't think there's enough time, but all I'm saying is we have some best practices. I love the idea of what was done with the facilities master plan. I wasn't even here, but that had to be huge and all-encompassing. So we're talking about the West End, but we're also talking about business owners in the West End and other stakeholders in the West End, and of course our residents, and of course my beloved neighborhood house, and the parents of the people who go to school there, the students, how about them? So just trying to figure out how to make this all encompassing. And I think one of the objectives of that meeting would be our intentional commitment to the community and saying to them what our next steps are in engagement. I'd also like to enter Ms. Worley's brilliant, I think it's called Background Related to FC Inquiries was the name of a document that she's gonna work on. Like, I've asked her to help us just piece together everything that has happened. Something was said, then we got a letter, then we wrote back, then, like just what has happened, and then how do we communicate that to the public? Do we take a memo that she writes and stick it on the website? This is an assignment to inform the community so that we don't have folks in an uproar who don't know that we don't know, what our next steps are. Because I think we get accused of backdoor deals and doing things in quiet and that. Number 3 or 4, wherever we are, this is an assignment. Simultaneous to this, I'd like to begin to have conversation amongst the board, and it can be a part of that public meeting. We can even ask the public, what are some opportunities for Taft High School that would be great for our students and our families? What do they need? I heard someone say there's no soccer program. Does the community want a soccer program? So we need to figure out how to gather that information. Are you telling me to hurry up? Okay.
No, I just want to add something.
Okay, so, and then, nobody probably wants to do this, I think I'm gonna have to. We need to get to the point where, and if it's appropriate now or not, I don't know, but we need a fact-finding. We need an understanding of what are the opportunities. We talk about the district having 700 or so partners. We don't turn down partners, I don't think we do. We just heard about partners today that help the tech programs work and career tech and that kind of thing. So I think along with that are, what are the implications related to the tax abatements and things that we talked about? Just open up the door and just come on in and let's talk.
Okay.
So that's a lot. I hope.
That's a lot.
If
Yes,
you have
but
any
it's
questions, please ask me and I'll be happy to tell you what I was trying to tell you.
Okay.
Okay, and then if you want me to come back to my last assignment, I can wait.
I
No,
wanted
go
to
ahead.
add to one of
Please.
yours, if that's okay.
Okay, Ms. Bates wants to add, and then you can.
Okay, because we're talking about engaging Taft, but actually 6 schools
Right.
use that facility, and SCPA is a couple of blocks away.
Correct. Yes.
So
They share parking.
Yes, and share. So anyway, I want to add to the assignment, not just engaging
Right.
Taft, and we can, we can also engage at SCPA in addition to Taft. So this is, it's about Taft because it's right there, but it's we're affecting a whole lot more than just the Taft students.
Yeah.
If there are negotiations.
If it's okay, Madam President, I think we're having a conversation
Yes.
related to,
Yep.
is that okay? Because I want to just piggyback on what Ms. Bates said in an attempt to assist the administration with what I think we're all asking for. So, do we need a model, which I'm sure you guys had, where we have these conversations simultaneous across the city? Do we go to, who else uses the school? Riverview, Euler, Aiken, whomever else uses that facility? You know, do we do this simultaneously, or do we expect 300 people to show up to a meeting? I don't know.
Can I just add, I think what Ms. Copeland, if I'm wrong, you can correct me, is we need sort of a strategic timeline. And with objectives tied to those timelines. And it truly is, the timing of these activities is critical. So we just need a big picture, sort of strategic outline of what it is we need to do with the objectives that people have mentioned, so that we know how we're operating, how we're going to approach this. Ms. Copeland Dansby has one more assignment.
Or you can come back to me, whichever.
Go ahead.
So while we're having this conversation, I think it's also worth noting to the public that we used to have a committee that was intentional with public engagement. PPE, it was called. And so just like we have 3 other committees, we had an intentional committee with a chair who did this intentional work to keep the community informed and invite them to participate in various ways. So last year, the board decided we weren't going to do that, or 2 years ago, I think. We were going to do that on Wednesdays. Well, apparently, and I've been saying this, and I've been saying this, and I've been saying this, apparently that's not working. So we as a board are going to have the hard conversation about having a PPE committee. So I think the assignment is, if we could please add it to an upcoming agenda so that we can flush it out.
We can do that, and we did approve the changes. I think one of the things we have that's connected to that is this whole sort of idea on this emerging committee that we had called whatever it was named at the retreat. And I do think that the broader conversation, that what you're referring to sort of fits under that umbrella. Now, the problem we can, and I think we should put that topic as an agenda item, maybe under board matters sometime soon, because number one, we can't have 5 people on that group if it's going to be a committee. So the idea would be to have that full board discussion, and the concern that's being expressed here could be part of that dialogue.
All I'm asking is that we do it timely, because the calendar continues. Every 24 hours that goes by, the work is not being done.
I'm sorry.
You're fine. Yes, thank you so much.
All right. Mr. Morosky.
So if I may be so bold as to offer specific suggestions, which we haven't done yet, we need to get this letter out to FC Cincinnati soon, and I would like to add to the assignment that I think Erica added to, Ms. Bolton started, Ms. Copeland Dansby added, and I'm going to add to, can we say we get this letter off to FC Cincinnati by tomorrow and request a meeting for their proposal by next Friday at the latest? Because, again, we are having conversations about citywide engagement, which is awesome, but not to beat a dead horse, but we have no idea what the cart is. And we have 10 horses and we're running. So I think I'd like to put specific dates, get a letter to the team tomorrow, and request to meet by next week.
Okay.
So we know what to engage.
The assignment is clear.
Okay.
But again, when you said a meeting, one of the things that I'm hearing all this other stuff, I'm saying there's got to be a way, we have to look at it strategically.
Sure.
Do we want a meeting first? Do we want the engagement piece first?
We don't know what we're being asked.
Huh?
We don't know what we're being asked. I just feel like that's the most important thing right now. And then we go hard with engagement.
Yeah, but I mean, however what the letter says, we're inviting FC Cincinnati to a conversation with us as a fact-finding, or,
Yeah.
and we want to do that first.
I think
Okay,
so.
that's what I'm
I
asking.
thought that's what I heard, Ms. Cope. Is that right?
So that would be an assignment to, I would ask Lauren to draft the letter for us.
The letter is assignment to the president.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. We'll work with Lauren.
I think we should ask them to bring their proposal, and it may not even be a proposal. It may be at least the status of whatever it
And
is
ask
they're doing.
whatever they're asking.
Whatever they're, and I think it's certainly within 2 weeks at the latest. I do think we ought to schedule a date, though, for the public engagement to at least begin while it's at the uppermost thoughts of folks, and I do think it's a citywide effort. But I think those things can happen in a parallel way, but the sooner they can tell us what it is they are thinking about, the sooner we can start to figure out what information we need, But I think within 2 weeks, the administration should come back with a date, time, place, and I would, to Ms. Copeland-Dansby's point of view, I would say that the survey should follow the engagement rather than precede it, because we know very well who answers our surveys for the most part. And it may not be the folks that are most affected
right, I agree.
by this. So I look forward to that engagement, and I think, as I mentioned, the 6 other schools that use it, this is a district-wide piece that has to be taken under consideration.
Great. Okay.
I love it.
Any other assignments? Okay. All righty. Having no other business,
All right.
Thank you. Jesus.
I declare this meeting adjourned.
Yeah, thank y'all.
I don't think I'm going back to work.
I got a
haven't
2:30,
been
I
there.
got a training tonight, I got an interview tonight.
Let's see what's left on the food count.
Oh yeah, you didn't get to eat. The soup was the bomb. Huh? Tonight? Yeah, I'll probably come through. I'm doing Lincoln Wear like at 8. Yeah, tonight, yeah. And then I'll come back after that. I'll be right up in it. I have this campaign for March for Meals in March. It's called March for Meals.
Is that what you were telling me about the other day?
Yeah.
Okay. I saw you on TV last night.
On TV?
Were you on TV?
Oh, yeah, we had a press conference yesterday. Rolled out a major deal with Uber.
Yeah, I heard
Yes,
that.
in the city of Cincinnati.